Hello, today we're going to talk about function rules. Alright, the form you're actually looking for here when you're looking for anything is y equals mx plus b. So m is what is known as your slope, and b back here is known as your y-intercept. Basically, your y-intercept is any time x is equal to 0 will be your y-intercept we're looking for. Now we're going to do all this from a table. Hopefully it makes sense. I'm doing it different than the program shows you, just because this makes more sense to me. So let's get to it. All right, I want a function rule from this table. All right, since they're all from tables, I'm going to show a different way of finding this. What you're actually doing is finding slope, but it's a little bit easier. So I'm going to say I'm counting down. Down as in going down on the table. So I ask myself, how many does it take to get from 5 to 4, because I'm going down? Well, I have to subtract 1. How many does it take to get from 8 to 7? Subtract 1. Now here's the key. Y over x. All right? Y over x. We're going to put what we found right here on top, and then what we found here on the bottom. Simplify it down. Our slope then is 1, or our m is 1. It's that simple. If I did it down here, and I said, well, how do I get from 3 to 2? Well, I have to subtract 1. How do I get from 6 to 5? Subtract 1. Y over x, negative 1 over negative 1 to give me 1. Now, I have to find my b. So every time I'm looking for my m and my b. My m is called my slope. My b is my y-intercept, where I said x has to equal 0. So if I look at my fancy-dancy chart here, it's already going in that direction. So if I said 4, 3, 2, 1, 0, right? So that's how I'm going to find my y-intercept. So every time I go down 1 on the x, what do I do with the y's? Well, I went down 1 here, I went down 1. So what I have to do is just keep going down 1. So when I get to 4, it's going to be 1. When I get to 3, it's going to be 0, because I'm just subtracting 1 every time. When I get to 2, it's going to be negative 1. When I get to 1, negative 2. And 0, negative 3. And there you go. That's how you do it from a chart. Don't overthink it. Sometimes you can't do this little trick with the chart. There's other ways to do it, but this is the way I'm showing you. So every time I went down negative, I subtracted 1 from here, I subtract 1 from here. And then I just go down until I find x equals 0. And there you go. Well, not quite. That was an early thumbs up. Let me write this out as an equation. So the equation here would be y equals 1x minus 3, or you can just write it as y equals x minus 3. That was an early thumbs up. That's what it actually is. All right, second example here. All right, it doesn't matter which one but I'm not going to mess with the decimal because I don't want to. So I'm going to keep going down. How many does it take to get from 8 to 10? Well, I have to add 2 to 8, so 8 plus 2 is 10. Do the same thing over here. What does it take to get from 32 to 40? Well, 32 plus 8 is 40. So now I have an 8 and a 2. I put y over x, and that gives me 4. So my m, or my slope, is 4. So now I have to figure out what my b is. So if I tell you every time I add 2 to this side, I add 8 to this. All right, this is going up though. I need to go and get x to be 0. All right, so now I have to think a little bit here. So I have it at 4. Now, how do I get closer to 0? Well, I'm not going to add 4 here. I'm going to subtract 2. So I'm going to take this right here, plug it in right here. All right? So now I'm going to subtract 2 here, and get 2. Well now, since I'm not adding 2, I'm subtracting 2. I'm adding 2, adding 8. So what do I have to do to this side then? Well, I'm subtracting 8. Right? Let's subtract 2 again. That gets me to 0. So let's subtract 8 here, and that gets me to 0. So my B is 0. You just have to think it through, and the chart works very well. So I was adding at first, but since I flipped the table over, I had to, because I was going the other way, I had to subtract. So my equation here is y equals 4x plus 0, or you could just say y equals 4x. All right, next example. Here we go. I always like to go down and count that way. You can actually go either way. If you want to count up and say, how do I get from 16 to 13? You can, but I like to keep it consistent for myself and say, I always count down. So how do I get from 10 to 13? Add 3. How do I get from 2 to 5? Add 3. Because a lot of people will mess this up and they'll start flipping it and say, well, that's minus 3. It's not if you're counting down. So then it's 3 over 3, which gives us 1. Now we just have to find what our B is. All right, so we're going the other way. And this is going to take some thinking. So I'm going to take 2 and I'm going to put 10 down here. But I'm trying to get to 0, and this is counting by 3s. All right? So if I'm going by 3 each time, so 5 to 2, 5 to 8, how many would it be? So if I went 5 to 4, all right? So what this actually is, this is a 1-in-1 scale. So if I said 1, I could say 9 there. Because then I'm subtracting 1, subtracting 1. And now watch. So if I go by 3 here, this next one would be -1 and 7. So this is 1, 2, 3. If I subtracted 3 here from here. So 1, 9, 0, 8, 7. 1, 7, -1, 7. So if you think about it, this works pretty well. So my B is 8. So y equals 1x plus 8, or y equals x plus 8. Now again, this is my way of doing it. You don't have to do it my way. You can do it the way the program says. All right, this last section is just inputting values. So here we go. We have all of our outputs. We're just looking for the inputs now. You usually don't get it this way, but it still works. So if I plug 12 in for that y, I get the equation 12 equals x plus 6. And now I just have to solve for x to get my x. So subtract 6, x equals 6. Let's do this one. 13 equals x plus 6. 7 equals x. 14. And now we can guess the next one's 9 because it's going down by 1 every time. This side's going down by 1 every time. All right, here we got to solve. So we put 4.5 in for the y, x over 2. Now how do you get rid of a denominator? Well, multiply both sides by it. So 9 equals x. There we go. And our last one, so we have 6 equals x plus 6, minus 6, x equals 0. There you go. That's how you input values when they're the outputs, to find the inputs. All right, this has been Function Rules. I hope it helped, and good luck.